This is Justin Case from America Newscape, joining our friend and lifestyle luminary, Joyce Rockwood. Joyce joins us to share why we need to detox. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to America Newscape.
It's great to be back. Can you see how gray it looks behind me?
It does. You want to turn a light on or
there's
something?
No sun. There's no sun in Phoenix today.
Well, it's because you're supposed to get some rain in the short term. Okay.
We're in monsoon season. Anyway, hi.
Hi. Joyce hasn't lived in Phoenix very long. Monsoon season in Phoenix is a myth.
Oh no, it's a real deal. I was in one of those the other night. So.
It's thunderstorm, yes and no, but the monsoon season actually shoots up between New Mexico and Arizona, and that's where it happens, and that's where it's nasty. And every once in a while, a cloud will brave the desert heat and come into Phoenix and drop some rain somewhere. Okay, but enough of my running off the mouth. Okay, Joyce, there are a lot of products out on the market, like juice cleanses and cleansing powders, and also many health professionals that promise big results with detoxifying the body. But despite that, why do we need to detox?
Why do we need to detox? What am I doing with my life?
More toxins, please.
I've got some really exciting information for you today, some enlightening information, some statistics. Some of it will make you a little concerned, but don't worry, because by the end, I'm going to have some really great solutions for you. So why do we need to detox? What is all this about? So let me start by saying that everything that I share with you here is rooted in logical thinking. You know, when we put high vibrational foods that are not highly processed and are not subjected to torture and poisoning in the growth and or in the farming process, and we allow our bodies to be equally healthy and vibrant and energized naturally, that's a beautiful thing, right? That's what's happening when we're putting in those cleaner foods, when we're not putting in those poisonous foods and those highly processed foods. You know, and everything else otherwise also that we talk about here is also rooted in following some very simple and practical steps for properly nourishing the body to enhance the philosophies that I share about deep tissue cleansing, which is the art of detoxification. And let's just talk about it. Like, just what is detoxification? Simply, very practically, it's the removal of extraneous life-debilitating, life-threatening poisons from our body that have manifested through a variety of sources. So to answer your question, when it comes to the human body and living a vibrant life, detoxification is a necessity for several reasons. And I'm going to give you a list of some of the major factors that contribute to the accumulation of these poisons in the body. The first one is probably the most obvious one, right? The foods we eat. How was the food farmed? How was the soil, the condition of the soil that it was grown in, the manner in which these plants, or sometimes, you know, the animals, are treated in factory farming environments. If you've ever seen any of these videos of way that the cows, even like the calves, are housed for life without being able to move as they're force-fed food, it's a heart-wrenching thing to see. Environmental toxins. You know, I was watching this really amazing video the other day that one of my colleagues, I've mentioned him before, Michael Perrine of Everyday Detox, highlighted. And it's from the Environmental Working Group. This is a really profound study they did. They took 10 blood samples from 10 different Americans. And when they studied the blood, they found 287 chemicals in their blood samples. 47 different consumer product ingredients were found in there that were toxic, from flame retardants to Teflon chemicals to Scotch Guard chemicals. 212 of the chemicals that they found, including pesticides, had been banned for 30 years previously. Okay, so there's a lot going on in our environment. There's a lot going on with our skincare. That's our next line of resources: skincare, bath and beauty products that are contributing to toxic load in the body. Mainly, women tend to have more toxic load because we tend to use more beauty products than men in terms of skincare and also makeup. And then let's not leave out the fourth area, pharmaceutical and recreational drugs. Okay, so these are four of the sources of toxicity that can create accumulation of poisons in the body. Now, the abundance, by the way, the chemicals that I mentioned, like the majority of those chemicals being banned and being banned, 30 years previous. If you want to take a deeper dive into that video, you can go on to YouTube. And I believe it's Ken Cook, who is the founder of the Environmental Working Group. And you can just do a quick search. It's a great video that he created. Hear more about the studies that they did. The majority of illnesses that most people suffer from are avoidable through the lifestyle practices and other methods of detoxification that I talk about and that I guide my clients through. And in my experience, anything that is not properly organically grown, that is water containing, a water containing plant substance for the sake of this conversation, is really not designed for our body. And therefore, it cannot be fully metabolized and eliminated by our body. Okay. Now, these elements are acidic to varying degrees. They leave an ash in the body, similar to the ash of, drinking coffee or eating highly processed cakes and cookies. And that creates an imbalance for what is considered to be the ideal pH level of the body. And they also, these harmful foods or these highly processed foods have what we call a positive ionic charge. Okay, now that's important. These positively charged ions are substances that magnetically bond to your healthy tissue. Okay, so we have substances going in the body that have a positive ionic charge. Our tissue has a negative ionic charge. You can see where we're going with this if you understand the concept of magnetic forces. Opposites attract, right? So the response is like suffocation from a cellular perspective. These positively charged substances hold fast in the tissue, and they get heated in our cells at about 98 degrees. And because these substances don't contain sufficient water, this also means that the cells and the tissue are also getting suffocated, and they tend to dry out, and they're disabled from properly regenerating. And then this causes the tissue to be depleted and to be lacking in its life-sustaining energy, vibrancy, and all of the defense mechanisms, including beauty, which renders it pretty much exhausted. Okay, this is why so many people, many of my clients included, complain about and suffer with daily fatigue and a desire for having more energy. So, over the course of a lifetime, the accumulation of eating low vibrational, positively charged ion foods, non or low water containing foods in overbearing amounts will begin to cause a very rapid decline in human vitality. And this shows itself in a variety of diseases after sometimes maybe minor long-term symptoms have gone ignored and or are improperly treated. Okay, so to shine a light on why ignoring the noxious accumulation is so problematic, it doesn't just chillax inside the body, okay? Just be quiet and sit there innocently. It festers, and eventually it sours, and it becomes corrosive, highly acidic. It putrefies. I know this sounds really glorious, doesn't it?
It does. Putrefaction.
Putrefaction. And, in the festering, what happens is it births dangerous pathogens. And, they're not much different than those you might smell in the garbage that needs to be taken out after several days, kind of stinky in the kitchen, right? If you have waste, from cutting up vegetables and you put it in the trash, day one, it's kind of cool. But if that trash sits around for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, it starts to putrefy. That's what's happening inside the body, okay? 8 degrees, mind you. So these pathogens are birthing babies, right? They're birthing offspring. And, those like pathogen kiddos are needing to eat. So they also produce waste. And what most individuals don't know is that is literally the backdrop for premature aging and cellular degeneration in the body. And most people believe it's just the way life goes. It's like not the case. What I want you to know is that it's only really the case when the ideal environment is not being properly nurtured and we're not properly nourishing the system. Okay? Well, that was the bad news. Or maybe just the truth.
I think we lost everybody, but we're anxious for some of these remedies.
I hope you're still with me. So here's the good news, okay? The really good news is that this is the reason, okay? This is the reason why we do need to detox. And when you do, you'll be actively doing some very deep level house cleaning and removing the years, literally years of accumulation and all that putrefied offspring that is getting in the way of you experiencing high energy levels, a calm belly that's not so gassy and bloated and crampy, fewer food cravings for the poor acidic foods, uninterrupted sleep. How about that? Anyone here want to have better, deeper, uninterrupted sleep? Clear and radiant skin, less cellulite. Okay, are you hearing me? Less brain fog, clarity of mind, feeling more organized and efficient and productive, all good things. All of this leads to you being self-responsible for improving yourself to your greatest capacity as a human being on this planet, your interactions with others and how you perform, whether you're a full-time parent or a busy professional or a health enthusiast, your quality of life, and increasing longevity in the absence of what most people experience as common or expected disease. So, with detoxification, otherwise known as tissue cleansing, we can flush your body of all of that accumulation and all of those pathogens by learning how to properly wake it up first. Okay, that is step one. We have to wake it up first with optimal nourishment. 2 of the key aspects of doing that include drinking fresh pressed juices and proper food combining. Okay, so by implementing cleansing and these hydrating, these water containing foods with proper magnetic charge, right? These are going to be the foods that have the negative ionic charge to match with the tissue of the human body, and elevating that cleansing potential. The waste in your tissue that's holding you back gets woken up. Your cells start to loosen all of their kung fu grip on all this goop, and it begins to be carried out of your body and the tissues to experience a regeneration of cells, and it's moved through the proper pathways of elimination in your body. So this is where other vital aspects of cleansing and a detoxifying lifestyle, such as lymphatic dry brushing and my favorite, trampoline fitness, come into the picture with a more well-rounded experience of you having more optimal and having quicker results. And when this happens, there's an immediate sense of new real estate in your body. You have more room to move. You have more room to feel. You have the ability to experience more flexibility. And I don't just mean physically, I mean emotional flexibility. Because when all of this accumulation has evacuated, it just creates more space on all fronts for you, which also returns you to feeling this incredible lightness of being. It's like this childlike nature that comes over you and your spirit with this increased kinetic energy throughout your cells. And it travels also right through that cerebral spinal fluid to your brain, which is why you also tend to feel really happy all the time. It doesn't mean you don't still experience a wide range of emotions, sadness sometimes, and maybe getting angered in moments, but the happy factor is certainly going to be more prevalent. So hence the gut brain connection. So hopefully this gives you a sense of empowerment that you have the ability to really heal your body naturally. And if you're watching this and you don't currently have something to heal, and maybe taking the proper steps to fully engage in a detoxifying lifestyle would be something that would be sensible, so that you're not really waiting for a thunderstorm or a monsoon to start paying greater attention to your health, so that you can really defy the preconceived notions around the aging process. And in the end, what you get is the ability to live a life without any regret. And I would just say, reclaiming your full power and being both physically and emotionally vibrant is the heart and soul of the work that I do. So hopefully that gives you a greater sense of why do we need to detoxify?
You raise a valuable point. Once you start to detoxify, your immune system will be boosted and you'll be in better shape to ward off illnesses and viruses that may be surrounding you. And the other thing that Joyce didn't go into is, remember that we also intake toxins through our skin. So we need to be careful. If you're using antiseptic wash.
What do you mean I didn't mention it? That was the whole beginning about the environmental working group. Come on now, and the makeup.
Well,
come on now.
What I want to say to people is when these antiseptic hand washes came out, they were almost exclusively full of toxins. And people were actually putting this on their skin 4 or 5 or 6 times a day. And they were indeed absorbing those toxins through their skin. And then the other thing is, try and live in as a clean, aired environment as you can. Because most of the sediment that comes from our lungs, it's from the air that we breathe. So when I hear LA people talk about the environment and they live in that environment, and when I hear New York people talk about the environment and they live in that environment, I don't know how they survive with the toxins that they're surrounded by in the air. And
it's a slow decline. It's like you don't feel it in the moment. It takes years for people to accumulate that stuff for it to become more debilitating.
Well, they need to move somewhere where the air is fresh, and then they can celebrate it. But this is something we all need to consider and do the best that we can. And this is a very valuable lesson. And I'm asking because I don't know. When the toxins are sloughing off, I'm going to feel the results of that as like the die-off of the toxins, correct?
Yeah. So the reason why people tend to, want to work with someone who can guide them through the process is because sometimes there's unexpected turns. And yes, when you start loosening up the poisons, the art of detoxification is to make sure that the pathways of elimination are open enough to support them leaving the body efficiently. And if they don't, you can feel worse instead of better. That's where colon hydrotherapy, that's where rebounding, that's where lymphatic dry brushing, cryotherapy, sweating, saunas, infrared saunas, all of those things come into play. They're all part of the lifestyle. It's not just about juicing. It's not just about food combining. There's a whole array of things that we do to live this way. And, there are times, as you say, when sometimes you're not feeling your best. It doesn't mean that you want to give up the healthier choices you've made to create that loosening up of poisons in the body. It's that you want to work with someone who can carry you through that process intelligently, so that you're not giving up midway because you think that what you're doing that was actually supporting the loosening up of that matter is a bad thing. It's just that, until it fully gets out of the bloodstream, you might be feeling it more than you were feeling it when it was dormant, right? So when we wake up the stuff, we got to make sure that we're creating the proper evacuation for it as well. Like quadrophenia, 2 doors was not enough.
Well, it's almost like it's a battle against the toxins, and it's something I think you should relish and enjoy, and look at that light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, but not to be tolerated. So to understand that when you're not feeling well, from taking proper steps to create a cleansing response in your body, to understand that those things might come up, but know how to navigate those waters, to tolerate it for days and days and days on end. So you can work with someone who can support you in the intelligence of moving through that,
How
or moving
cool.
through that intelligently. Yeah.
How cool is that? Well, Joyce, do you have any final thoughts that you care to share with us today?
On goop and putrefaction.
Yeah, putrefaction.
So if this work speaks to you and you're curious to get started, I'd love to support you on your journey. I'm creating a really exciting transformational online course that will actually take you through all of these exact practical steps and provide you with the education around each one of them so that you can understand why you're doing them, right? It's not just what to do, but it's like, why are we doing this, that really inspires continued activity and consistency and the persistence, which is what those are some of the key elements of why people tend to not have the successes that they desire. So if you'd like to be informed about the launch of the specials that I'm going to be offering and get on the wait list, you can click the link that's right below our video here in the show notes and add your name to it, and you will be informed accordingly before it launches. You'll be part of the pre-launch.
How cool is that? And it's something we should all consider. And why don't you bring up I assume you're still doing these 30-minute introduction calls with potential clients?
Yes. So before that launches, if you feel like you need a little bit of support, I offer a complimentary 30-minute call currently, and I don't have a lot of spots every single month, but what you can do is also below in the show notes, there is a link to book a free no-cost discovery call where we can go through for 30 minutes. We can go through what your current status is with your health, what it is that you're struggling with, what the obstacles are that are currently getting in the way of you achieving the health of your dreams. And then if we feel like we're an ideal fit, what I can do is I can offer you an invitation into one of my coaching programs, and then we can get you set up and started right away. But again, I don't have a lot of those appointments available every month because time, I can only offer a certain amount of them based on private client time. So if you are really feeling called at this point and you're ready and you're willing to do whatever it takes to start really moving forward with your health, I take those calls very seriously. So if you are taking your health seriously, it would be a perfect opportunity for us to get connected.
Thanks, Joyce. Hey, everybody, this has been Justin Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing why we need to detox. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts and additional information and links are provided in this video's Read More. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn a few healthy suggestions on how not to go bananas, even though it hasn't kept me from going bananas.